Accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumont, joined by Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan.
Good to see you, Ross. Haven't seen you since Friday.
I know, it's been a couple days.
Man.
Happy to be back in. We've got another weather impact alert in effect today. This time mainly just because it's kind of just a nuisance for anyone who's out and about, whether you're walking out in it with your dog or you're going to be commuting home here within the next hour or two. We just had a lot of very light off and on showers, just kind of a fine mist and drizzle coming down across pretty much the entire First Coast today, Tim. So because of that, we're keeping the weather impact alert in effect through at least 6 p.m. when most folks are still going to be out driving around and coming
just enough to keep it slick, right?
Yes.
And for that person that's on the road, maybe a little more in the hurry than the rest of us are, problems can be had. Or if, that person is racing to pick you up and you're late and you're out there, what may seem like light rain to anybody else, if you're out there longer than you planned, can be a soaker, right?
Yeah, it will soak in eventually.
Yeah. Now, compared to what's happening over Central and South Florida.
That's what I was just going to say, yes.
Yeah.
As, at least we're not down towards Orlando or even south of there, down towards kind of West Palm Beach. They're about to see some heavier rain moving on in. So the center of the low and kind of major wave of energy is headed primarily south of I-4 across the southern half of the peninsula here. We are mainly just on the northern extent of that, so the lighter rain being seen for us here tonight, Tim.
But for those of you that really like to look at these radar loops, so we have a light north wind, but locally you can actually see motion out of like the south and southeast, because I think, Ross, even at 5,000 feet, we still have like south and southeast winds. So although we have a light northerly wind here, if you wanted to paint the low pressure center at 5,000 feet, it's probably between us and Tampa. And so that's why we continue to have this, at least just the occasional light rain, like you say, some showers. I'm going to be curious, Ross, to see if, and maybe we're starting to see it, if as this energy sort of transfers from the Gulf to then the Gulf Stream, maybe a couple, what you might call heavier showers develop, maybe St. Augustine south, maybe later tonight, tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I think it'll show that here in a second too. I mean, this is just kind of show temperature-wise, but as we look ahead kind of into tomorrow morning, it kind of depicts as soon as the center of circulation moves offshore,
oh, there you go,
you'll start to see it spin up. So yeah, just some light showers, the fine mist and drizzle here the rest of tonight. But here is tomorrow morning then, Tim.
Yeah.
You just depicted and mentioned St. Augustine Sound down towards Flagler Beach and Palm Coast, potentially seeing some heavier downpours making their way in on kind of the north or northwest side of that circulation.
Timing could be really bad for those who are, thinking the rain's almost over, but you're heading back into work and school on Tuesday morning. So maybe coastal St. Johns County south. I don't know. You probably might want to give yourself a little bit extra time. But then brighter skies are on the way, right?
Oh, yeah, and you just notice that by pretty much mid-morning and then through the afternoon. All of that pushes off to the east-southeast, much more sunshine. We're going to be a little bit warmer tomorrow, too, Tim. Today has been a very chilly day.
It has been.
By tomorrow, upper 60s, low 70s. You were talking earlier, you expect a pretty wide variety of temperatures across the First Coast where, places along the beaches could be significantly cooler and stuck in the 60s, whereas if you live west of Highway 301, you could be hitting the mid-70s.
Might see middle 70s, yeah. So a big gradient. So for those of you thinking spring break, for whatever reason, you might want to go west as opposed to necessarily go to the beach.
But Jacksonville's pretty much going to be locked right there in the middle, right around that 70-degree mark.
Do you think I'm sexy? I'm not actually asking you that, Ross.
See, I'm not a Rod Stewart fan. I don't really know any of his music, so you'll have to do all the singing today. Especially since Robert Spetta's not here and he's our team singer.
I have to be fair and full disclosure. I'm kind of like you, Ross, in that I have nothing against him personally. But if I ever went to a Rod Stewart concert, it was probably because of the woman I was with.
Yeah.
But still, people still love him, and I'm sure what a great choice tomorrow evening versus this evening with Rod Stewart.
Especially so. Yeah, it's Daily Place's first concert of the season this year. Rod Stewart over there. Concert's at 8 p.m. It's going to be a little bit of a chilly night, but at least not damp. You'll have dry skies out there, so no rain in the forecast for that tomorrow evening.
Oh, now, I love visible satellite pictures.
Yeah, across the rest of the country, man, you can see a lot from this. First thing I really just want to point out, you can really see the snowpack out towards Salt Lake City, northern Colorado, up towards Yellowstone, southern Montana, Bozeman, and Big Sky Country. You can kind of see that snowpack locked into place.
Big Sky Country of Montana, yes.
Good skiing and snowboarding up there.
But now what happens if that snow starts melting?
Oh, it's all got to go somewhere, right? And we've got kind of two separate areas we're going to hone in on. So first of which is kind of across the central part of the country. So moving out of the Dakotas across Minnesota and Iowa here tonight.
Liquid rain.
Yeah.
Now, for you weather freaks, you probably remember this, but for those of you who don't watch it closely, remember where it's raining. So obviously it's above freezing. I think right now in Bismarck it's about 40. Those are spots that were below zero all day long. It wasn't not talking wind chill, right? And it shows this tremendous warm up from the northern central plains all the way back to the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk about the implications for the Pacific Northwest. Well, there he goes. Okay, wow, look at that satellite picture. I didn't check what that is down to in millibars.
I didn't look either specifically, but I mean that is a.
I mean, just swirl. Looking at it, that's got to be down at least to 970 millibars, maybe lower.
And it's impacting the Pacific Northwest pretty substantially. Oregon, Washington, and especially the coastal areas have seen several inches of rain over the last 2 to 3 days, really over the last 72 hours. I know Mount St. Helens in Washington and a couple other locations, especially kind of in the higher terrain there, have picked up 7, 8, 9 inches of rain just in the past 2 or 3 days, and they still have more rain to come. It's still falling out there now.
And that's what I was alluding to, that it's not just down at sea level, but high up where there are feet of snow. And so they're having some pretty massive snow melt and flooding going on there in the Pacific Northwest.
And they do have some winter storm watches and warnings in effect for both kind of the mountainous areas there of the Cascades in Oregon and Washington. So, yeah, kind of a mess for them. They're going to continue to see it here throughout the rest of tonight and into early tomorrow morning when kind of the main wave closest to that center of the circulation pushes on shore there. So you can kind of see the backside of the mountains, that east side or the lee side of the mountain range, getting the majority of the snow that continues through tomorrow morning.
I just went for Ross, I'm sorry. I just went for a verification, and indeed it's at 976 millibars.
Okay.
So that's a deep low out there.
But what's the big takeaway here, Tim, is really just not only snow melting, but on top of that then, a substantial amount of rain. Causing potentially a lot of issues for those folks out there.
It's going to be well forecast. They've been talking about this for quite a while, but wow, that is a lot of water. And obviously, I mean, if we have totals like that, even here we have problems, but out there, flash flooding really could be tragic if people aren't watching what's going on there. But then back here on the other corner of the country.
Yeah, bringing it back closer to home.
Yes.
Taste of spring, some sunshine, some warmth, back into the mid-70s by Wednesday. Kind
That's
of
what
hard to
we're talking
believe.
about. Yes. You know, we had that amazing first 2 weeks of February, and then winter came back, and now suddenly the 70s sound really, really nice. And there it is, Friday, and we have to be careful about our vocabulary here, but at least for meteorological winter we call December, January, and February. So for meteorological winter, Friday will be the last day of meteorological winter. So as we go back and put all the numbers together, that's what we'll all look at. Although, of course, astronomical winter will go till the vernal equinox.
And that is what, March 20th, March 21st? What?
You know,
switches back and forth
I know.
sometimes each year.
I think it's the 21st this year, but it could be the 20th. See, folks, it goes to show you, at least you know we're being honest with you right now.
Yeah, we're
not quite sure.
We don't have any notes in front of us
We'll
here
give it
today.
about we'll give it a 95% chance it's either the 20th or the 21st.
There you go. So yeah, Wednesday and Thursday were warm. The back half of Thursday, not only warm, but kind of breezy, kind of increasing clouds. And then here comes the next weather maker and front. That kind of arrives late Thursday night and into early Friday morning. We'll see potentially a few light showers, but drier skies, cooler air move in behind that front then. So Thursday will kind of be the day to watch. After the front moves in then, you see that temperature dip down quite a bit out of the upper 70s back into the mid 60s for Friday. So after the cold, rainy day we've had today, Friday will be the next chilliest day over the 7 Tim. But you look ahead then to early next weekend, those temperatures start to rebound a little bit.
Looks to me like
potentially slightly warmer, at least by the afternoon next Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use the word classic often, and I know it depends on
Except to describe yourself, right?
No, never. Classic goofball, maybe. But I think when you consider the fact that it's still considered astronomical winter, that the first weekend of March, I'm going to call it a classic river run weekend.
Classic.
Great. I mean, beautiful. Wind chill not a factor because there won't be wind. Dew points are going to be low. The runners who are out there will be able to push it. But it's also there's a lot of people that are out supporting their friends and their families and all the temperatures will be down there. At least no wind. Sun's going to be out, and then there's all the festivities after the river run. All kind of ways to hydrate and liquidate and hear some music, and it's just going to be beautiful weather on the river. There used to be, Ross, back in the 80s, they would have a big river festival. There would be a celebration of actually the river, and for different reasons they stopped that. I wish they still had that. I'm throwing around that idea with a few people that I know that are decision makers with the city. But even though it's not officially, the finish of the river run is right at the bank, right off the river, and to me it's going to be a beautiful day to sort of linger afterwards, and just celebrate. Maybe even find a nephew or a niece and do a little 1 mile diaper run, or who knows.
And not only are both of us going to be there, but I'm pretty sure Andy is going to be there.
Is that right?
Not running because he wimped out.
Well,
but I think his mom is running it, right, Andy?
I have a hamstring.
Oh.
Stepmom is
Injury.
and his
Stepmom, okay.
Awesome. So Andy's used to being behind the curtain. So in a way, he'll be at the river run, but behind the curtain, so to speak.
Cheering us on from afar.
Hopefully
From the
he's cheering
sideline.
us on. If not, at least throw water on me, Andy, at least, okay? I love to feel water on me as I'm running.
Now, one thing we do want to point out, at least for Saturday, besides the river run, inland locations there Saturday morning could be into the 30s. So we'll watch for that potentially. I think warmer the closer you are to the coast. So a wide variety of lows there Saturday morning.
And mainly, Ross, and I think you're alluding to this, is that I suspect folks west of Highway 301 haven't done any sensitive type planting. But it does look like it could be one of those mornings to where if it does go calm, that maybe there might be some patchy frost well inland. So one of those kind of days. But then probably those same areas are going to make it up into the middle 70s. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if some areas easily have a 35 to 40 degree temperature rise on Saturday.
And we're approaching that time of the year where the sun angle's starting to get a little bit higher in the sky. The days are getting longer. It's going to get harder and harder to start getting those potential freezes here.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's still possible, but we might not have too many, if any, left here. At least
I certainly think folks who are out toward the beaches, it's probably, if you haven't already, it's time if you're just waiting to get out there in the dirt.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, any last words here for the 7-day, Tim?
I just hope that you and others, who I'm excited, you're doing the river run for the first time. Ross has heard me say this, but people call it the Green Monster. On the other hand, if you're at least breathing and feeling somewhat good, I don't think there's a better pedestrian place in the city to be than on the river run at the top of the bridge looking over the river city by the sea. Because then even as a runner, it's a beautiful view, but then although you're not quite done, you got about a mile to go, it's all downhill from there.
Right.
And you combine that exhilaration with, hopefully, that's the main thing, if you can't breathe, nothing else matters. So I'll leave you with that. How about that?
I'm picturing it as, because I'm a Pennsylvania kid. Rocky, ran the steps of the library in Philly.
Yes.
Gets to the top and puts his fist up in the air. That is what I'm
glad
going
you
to be
said that.
envisioning in my mind.
I'm glad you said
as
that.
I run up the Green Monster.
Okay, listen to this. As far as I can remember, every year there's been, if not a group, at least a boombox at the foot of the Hart Bridge. So just as you're getting ready to go up, and guess what song they're playing?
Gonna Fly Now or the Rocky?
No,
theme?
Rocky. They're playing Rocky. I'm telling you. So if you're feeling bad about mile 7 or so, just know I think that song's coming, because I agree.
Right.
That's like, give me another raw egg. Let's go.
Something to keep myself pushing and going forward,
absolutely,
right?
Yes.
Alrighty, well, he is Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan. I'm Meteorologist Ross Mumal. Stay dry and warm out there tonight, and as always, take care.